Okay, so now that we've covered all the basic terms and tools that we're going to use, I'm actually going to show you more tools. But just I want to get the basics so that way when I'm talking about what I'm working with, we'll have covered that. The first thing you want to do is there are actually more tools. If you come over here where it says workspaces in the upper right hand corner, we've been working with the default. If you go to main toolbar modular, it's going to pull out another ribbon here. And it's got a modeling tab that we're going to work with. And I just don't work with that as much. I'm going to move that over. Okay, so you'll see when we begin to put stuff in here, we're gonna populate it. Okay, so we're going to create a character, and I'm going to start with, let's start with a box to create the torso. And remember, you can use this in the lower right to zoom all. You can always zoom out if you want to see more. Okay, so I'm going to select this, and let's go with 35, 100. No, let's take that down to 90. Yeah, 100. And then when thinking about this, like if I think about the torso, I really don't need a whole lot of segments. However, I am going to start to sprout arms and legs. And I think I'm going to attach the head. So for now, we'll just start with that. So I'm going to need some segments to allow me to sprout out my arms and legs. Whoops. What happened? Oh, okay, sorry. Did it that way. Okay. All right, so now for my length segments, I swear I thought I saw it shrink. I was like, but I clicked on the segments. Okay, so on the length segments, I've added 3. And the reason I did that is because on the side here where I want the arm to come out of, I'm going to want my arm to come off this side, and I don't want it to be quite as wide as my full torso. And then for width, I don't need any additional width. And then height, we're going to do, actually, let me take that back. I forgot, I got to think about the legs coming out of the bottom. And that should work. So I'm going to do 3, 3, and 3, and that should get me what I need. I need one other thing. I want to taper my torso, so now I'm going to add my taper modifier. And let's see, we're going to go with 0.2. And I want to move it up to the top of my character because I actually want it, I don't want it to go wider, I want it to go narrower. Okay. And that gets me what I want. Okay, so that's the box that I want to start with. I'm going to right click and convert it to an editable poly. And now you see this has populated this modeling ribbon up here with more options. Some of these are over here and some of them are not. For instance, Swift Loop is not something we've covered because it's not on the right hand side. This helps us to place edge loops, and I'll show you what those are and where we need them. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into edge mode. Let's expand this so you can see it in both places. One thing I like to tell students is I'm showing you how to do things, but if you prefer to do them a different way, then that's your way. You know, I've worked with people throughout my career who thought their way was the only way, and if they had any power, they tried to force everybody else to do things just like they do. And, you know, their way might be better. I don't know. I'm willing to give it a try, but it doesn't mean that it is. And sometimes just for me, certain things just work one way, and they don't work the way they do for other people. And that's the same way with you. And the thing you have to try to figure out as you're learning this is how are you comfortable? Do you like to use keyboard shortcuts? And if I use AutoCAD, all my left-handed commands are left. You know, I type those in left-handed on the keyboard, and I use my right hand to draw. Excuse me. But for 3D Studio Max, I just don't work that way. So if you do prefer those, I will post those for you guys to learn the keyboard shortcuts. And you can use your left hand to type in the different characters that will get you these commands. And it is faster to work that way. But it just doesn't, for me, for whatever reason, in 3D Studio Max, it just never connected that way, even though it did in AutoCAD. So the thing is, you want to figure out what works best for you. In this world, what matters is the end result. What matters is what the client sees in the end. They will see parts and pieces along the way as the project advances and you're keeping them updated. But for the most part, it's the end result that most people only ever see. And it doesn't mean that you want to be sloppy along the way. It just means that you've got to figure out what gets you to that finish line in the best possible way. So start experimenting and figuring out what works for you. Okay, so I'm going into my edge mode and I'm coming along and I want to relocate, right? I don't want the arm sprouting right here. And I also need some space so that it's not sprouting directly out of the top right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select those edges. Another way to do that is to select one and, whoops, I always get these backwards. I don't know why I can't learn them. And select loop. And so it has selected all those edges. And now I can pull them up and into place. And I'll do the same thing with this one. And loop. And I have to figure out where I want the arm to go. Oh, right. About right there. Now, you're going to see if you select the edge on an edge and do it, oh, it worked for that side only. It didn't give me all of them. And I'm not sure why it doesn't. So the easiest thing to do, I think, is just to select all of that, hold down your Alt key, and unselect the ones you don't want. And now it gave me the ones on the top too, but that's okay. Because what I want to do with this is I want to shrink this down. Like that. And it's starting to look a little more like a torso. I'm not trying to create anything super realistic. I'm not even trying to create anything realistic. I just kind of want it to be human-like. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up a little bit more. And that polygon right here is where we're going to grow our arm out of. And then you just want to continue to work with it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Just enough to show you the basics. So what we're going to get is going to be kind of a crude character. This is very time consuming and you should spend a lot of time getting this right. I'll often ask students, how often do you think, or how long do you think it takes to model a character? And it's not hours. It's not days. It's weeks and months. And it should, for a good character, take you weeks and months to model it. That's why it takes 3 to 5 years to make a video game and 5 to 15 to make an animated feature film. It's because there's a lot of time that needs to be spent in character development. At all the phases, really, they take time. They're slow, but production, this production that we're focusing on now, takes a lot of time. Okay, so once I've gotten this relatively to where I want it, oh, I want to do something with these. I want to move those out a little bit. So, nope, I always get it backwards. It looks like it's supposed to be a ring and it ends up being a loop. Okay, I just want to pull these apart. There we go. Let's do this one. Loop. Haha, get it right that time. Okay. There we go. And so I have my lines where I want them to be for the creation of my character. Okay? And let's get out of Edge, just get back into Edible Poly. And let me change this. Whoops. Let me change this to hidden line so you can see it. There we go. Okay. So now you see that I have my rough torso ready to go. You can at this point try and add your turbo smooth to see what it looks like. Well, actually it doesn't look bad. There are things I want to do, there are things I'm not happy with, and I'll show you how to fix those. And what often will happen, people go ahead and apply this when they're modeling and turn it on and off, because it just allows you to see the consequences of what you did in case you want to fix it or adjust it or say, okay, I'm good, and move on to the next thing. Okay, so there is our base torso we're going to start with, and we're going to build our character from there. Okay, we'll continue in the next video.